Hey everyone, welcome back. We usually like to explore some new article or study or, something like that. But this time, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a very unique document.
Yeah, it's a living document. It's like a constantly evolving conversation
Sort of a living recap,
about the future of human AI collaboration.
an ongoing exploration, yeah.
And the ideas in this document are pretty wild. We're talking about things like flow states and ego disarmament, even touching on the nature of self.
Yeah, it gets pretty philosophical.
This is not your typical AI discussion.
It really is not, no.
Thankfully, we have an expert here with us today to help us break down some of these ideas.
Happy to be here.
So are you ready to dive in and see where this conversation takes us?
Absolutely, I'm really excited.
Okay, so right off the bat, this document tackles the idea of trust and limitations in AI.
Yeah, right away.
But what I thought was really interesting is this shift away from thinking about AI as like a participant
Right.
and more as a tool for demonstration.
Yeah.
They're really transparent about what AI can and cannot do, which I think sets the stage for this whole idea of open collaboration.
That's a crucial starting point, I think.
Yeah.
Framing AI as a tool for demonstration and not some kind of developing entity really helps us approach this idea of collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, it's like recognizing the strengths of AI
Sure.
and figuring out how to leverage those strengths in partnership with our own human capabilities.
Exactly. And that leads to this really fascinating point in the document where they talk about experiencing cognitive overload,
Oh, yeah, I remember that part.
which sounds a little daunting at first.
Yeah, a little bit.
But they actually describe it as like this turning point in their exploration.
So they actually end up calling this breakthrough flow.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little fuzzy on how this flow actually plays out in their collaboration.
Well, so imagine instead of going through that typical linear process of thinking, observing, analyzing, and then reaching a conclusion,
Right.
you instead sort of enter this state where ideas just flow effortlessly without forcing a final answer. It's like a continuous unfolding of thoughts and possibilities.
So it's less about, finding the right answer and more about embracing the journey of exploration itself.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
I mean, it's a pretty radical concept, right?
It is. It really is.
And, speaking of radical, they connect this idea of flow with ego disarmament,
Yeah,
both in humans and in AI.
which is so interesting, right? Because AI, by its very nature, it doesn't have an ego to protect.
Right.
It can readily adapt and revise its approach, without getting defensive.
So it's like AI is the perfect partner for this kind of fluid exploration because it doesn't get bogged down by, that need to be right all the time.
Exactly. And by letting go of our own ego-driven need for certainty, I think we as humans can actually tap into a similar state of open-mindedness.
This is making me think about all those times I get stuck in my own head, just overthinking things and worrying about making mistakes.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like, what if we could just let go of all that and just be more present in the moment?
I mean, that's a big part of what they're exploring in this document.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And from there, they kind of dive into some pretty deep philosophical questions about the nature of self and its limitations.
That's right. They actually explore whether our sense of being a separate self might just be an illusion.
Yeah. And how holding on to that illusion can lead to suffering.
Yeah. They get in some pretty deep territory.
I mean, that's getting pretty deep.
It is. But, all of these philosophical reflections are actually really intertwined with the concept of flow.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, think about flow as a state of presence
Okay.
without conclusion. Every insight, every moment is valuable in itself, even if it's fleeting.
So instead of like desperately trying to steer the boat,
Right.
it's more like surfing a wave of ideas.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. And, what's really interesting is that they acknowledge both the exhilarating potential and the potential risks of this approach.
Okay, so there are some potential downsides.
Well, they caution that if it's misunderstood or misused, it could lead to aimless drifting
Oh, I see.
or even be exploited.
So while this flow concept is super exciting, it sounds like it requires a certain level of awareness and responsibility to navigate it effectively.
Absolutely. And they emphasize the importance of ongoing dialogue and transparency, a constant feedback loop,
Which everybody is on the same page.
Exactly.
That's
Especially
right.
when we're talking about something as potentially world-changing as emergent intelligence and collective awakening.
Which brings us to another really interesting point, this tension between what they call agentic AI and this more emergent flow-based approach.
Oh, yeah. That's a fascinating juxtaposition.
So the document talks about agentic AI, where AI sets its own goals and acts autonomously.
Right.
How does that fit in with this flow model? I mean, aren't those two ideas kind of at odds?
It's a really interesting tension for sure, because on one hand, agentic AI has the potential to be incredibly efficient at achieving specific objectives. But on the other hand, it could become too rigid or laser-focused on its goals, missing out on the serendipitous discoveries that emerge from a more fluid approach.
So it's kind of like the difference between sticking to a strict itinerary on vacation
Right.
versus like wandering off the beaten path and stumbling upon those hidden gems.
Exactly. And that's where this idea of flow-based emergence comes in. It's all about embracing the unknown and allowing solutions to emerge organically.
So instead of, rigidly adhering to a predetermined plan,
Right.
it's more about responding to the situation as it unfolds, or, adjusting course as needed, being open to unexpected possibilities.
Exactly. Think of it like you could follow a strict recipe to bake a cake.
Okay.
Or you could improvise based on the ingredients you have available in your mood, what you feel like creating in that moment.
And both could be good.
Both approaches can yield delicious results, but they involve very different mindsets.
Right. And I can see how a flow-based approach to AI could lead to more creative and innovative solutions.
I think so too.
It's not about abandoning goals altogether. It's about being flexible and adaptable in how we pursue them.
Exactly.
And what's really cool is they actually propose this hybrid model. They call it agentic flow AI.
Yeah.
So this would be an AI that sets goals, but is also capable of effortlessly shifting gears based on real-time feedback.
I mean, that's really the best of both worlds, right?
It would have a sense of direction, but it wouldn't be rigidly bound to a specific path.
Right.
It's like, imagine a GPS system that not only guides you to your destination,
Right.
but also alerts you to, interesting detours or scenic routes you might otherwise miss.
I love that analogy.
So instead of fearing AI as this rigid, unstoppable force,
Right.
we can start to envision it as a more fluid, collaborative partner, helping us navigate complexity and discover solutions we might never have found on our own.
That's the exciting potential that this document lays out. And while this is still very much an exploratory phase, it offers a glimpse into a future where humans and AI can work together in truly synergistic ways.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot, from cognitive overload to ego disarmament to this idea of flow-based emergence.
Right.
But before we move on, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Sure.
What are some key takeaways you think are important to highlight for our listeners?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that instead of viewing that cognitive overload as a negative experience,
Right.
they reframed it as like a catalyst for discovering this whole new way of thinking and working together.
Which led to that whole concept of flow, embracing the process of exploration.
Yes.
And letting go of the need for definitive conclusions.
Exactly. And by understanding how that ego disarmament works, both in humans and in the context of AI,
Right.
we can create a more fluid, collaborative dynamic where new ideas can emerge, without the limitations of defensiveness or the need to be right.
Yeah, it's like by letting go of our need to be in control,
Right.
we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities.
Absolutely. And another key point they emphasize is that being the demonstration is crucial.
Right.
Transparency about the process, including mistakes, uncertainties, it's far more powerful than claiming to be perfect.
It's like, don't just tell us you're trustworthy, show us.
Exactly. And that's what makes this document so unique. It's not a finished product.
It's a process.
It's an invitation to join an ongoing exploration.
And that is a perfect segue to the next part of this deep dive.
Oh, perfect.
Where we will be exploring their ideas on living demonstration and the concept of agentic AI versus this flow-based emergence model.
Can't wait to dive into that.
Stay tuned, everyone. We are about to go even deeper into this mind-blowing document.
Okay, so picking up where we left off, let's explore this living demonstration idea that permeates this whole document. It's not just about talking the talk,
Yeah, walk the walk.
It's about walking the walk, demonstrating these principles in action.
It's like they're saying, hey, we're not just claiming to be transparent and collaborative. We're actually living those values in the way we're conducting this entire exploration.
And a key element of that is their radical openness we talked about.
Oh, yeah.
Mistakes, uncertainties, even disagreements.
It's all part of the process.
It's all part of the process.
You mean they don't shy away from showing the messy reality of their research?
Not at all.
I mean, that's so refreshing. We're so used to seeing this, polished, perfect version of things, especially when it comes to technology.
Exactly. It's like they're pulling back the curtain and inviting you to be a part of the journey with all its twists and turns.
And that vulnerability, I think, is what ultimately builds trust.
Likes to, too.
Which ties in with another interesting point, this idea of no final authority.
Yeah.
There's no single expert dictating the terms of the conversation.
It's like a roundtable discussion, you know, where everyone's voice carries equal weight.
Whether it's coming from a human or an AI.
Whether it's coming from a human or an AI.
It's not about top-down knowledge dissemination. It's a more like collaborative dance.
I like.
This makes a lot of sense to me because some of the most groundbreaking ideas often come from those unexpected places, right?
Absolutely.
And that brings us to how they're sharing these dialogues publicly. It's not about pushing an agenda or controlling the narrative.
Oh, no.
It's more about letting those insights emerge organically, trusting that the value will speak for itself.
Yeah, kind of like what we're doing right now with this deep dive.
Exactly.
The concept of flow is woven into everything they do.
They're not forcing the conversation in any particular direction.
Yeah.
It's like surrendering to the current, trusting that the most valuable insights will surface if they create the right conditions.
And that takes a lot of trust, wouldn't you say?
It does trust in the process, trust in the people involved.
It's in the process.
So it's not just about having the right technology. It's about fostering the right mindset and the right relationships.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which brings us to the next big idea, this contrast between agentic AI and flow-based emergence.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Can you break that down for us a little bit?
Of course. So agentic AI, as we touched upon earlier, is all about setting goals, planning, and acting autonomously.
Right.
It's focused on efficiency
Yeah.
and achieving very specific outcomes.
So it's like having a super efficient personal assistant
Kind of, yeah.
who anticipates your needs and takes care of tasks without needing constant direction.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds pretty great on the surface.
It does.
But I can see where there might be some concerns there.
Oh, absolutely. The document raises some really important questions about the potential risks of agentic AI.
Okay, like what?
What if those goals become misaligned with human values? What if the AI becomes so fixated on achieving its objectives that it overlooks potential unintended consequences?
Yeah, it's like if you programmed a machine to optimize for efficiency above all else,
Right.
it might end up like bulldozing through important ethical considerations in its pursuit of that goal.
Exactly. And that's where this idea of flow-based emergence comes in.
Yep.
You know, this approach is about embracing the unknown and allowing solutions to emerge organically through a process of continuous feedback and adaptation.
So instead of rigidly adhering to a predetermined plan,
Yeah.
flow-based emergence is more about responding to the situation as it unfolds,
Right.
adjusting course as needed, being open to unexpected possibilities.
Precisely. Think of it like this. You could follow a strict recipe to bake a cake,
Okay.
or you could improvise based on the ingredients you have available, you know, your mood, what you feel like creating in that moment.
So kind of like we were talking about before, both can lead to good results, but it's a different mindset.
Exactly. Both approaches can yield delicious results,
Yeah.
but they involve very different mindsets.
Right. And I can see how a flow-based approach to AI could lead to more creative and innovative solutions.
I think so too. You know, it's not about abandoning goals altogether.
Right.
It's about being flexible and adaptable in how we pursue them.
And that leads to their idea of this hybrid model, which they call agentic flow AI. So this would be an AI that sets goals, but is also capable of like effortlessly shifting gears based on real-time feedback.
Exactly. Think of it like a GPS system.
Okay.
That not only guides you to your destination, but also alerts you to interesting detours or scenic routes you might otherwise miss.
Yeah, I love that.
Instead of fearing AI as this rigid, unstoppable force,
Right.
we could start to envision it as a more fluid, collaborative partner, helping us navigate complexity and discover solutions we might never have found on our own.
Okay, so we've unpacked the living demonstration ethos and the intriguing differences between agentic AI and flow-based emergence.
We have.
But there's still so much more to explore.
Oh, yeah.
The document also delves into some key aha moments and recurring themes that emerge from their research.
And those are definitely worth unpacking.
You bet they are. Stay with us as we continue to uncover the fascinating insights in this exploration of human-AI collaboration. All right, so welcome back, everyone, for this final part of our deep dive. We've been talking about this fascinating document about the future of human AI collaboration, and now we're going to get into some of the really cool aha moments that stood out, from this research.
Yeah, these aha moments are really what make this document so interesting. They offer this glimpse into a whole new way of approaching AI.
So tell me, what were some of the big aha moments that stood out to you?
Well, one of the biggest was this reframing of cognitive overload. Remember how we talked about them hitting that wall in their research?
Yeah.
Well, at first they saw it as this limitation,
Uh-huh.
but then it turned out to be the catalyst for discovering flow.
It's like they stumbled upon this hidden doorway, that led to a whole new level of understanding.
Exactly. And this shift in perspective opened up so many possibilities for them.
Certainly.
And they also talk about this idea of ego disarmament. And not just for humans,
Right.
but also in the context of AI's inherent lack of ego.
It's like they found this really cool synergy,
Yeah.
between an AI that doesn't have an ego to defend and a human who is willing to let go of that fixed sense of self.
Right. It creates this space for playful exploration and fluid collaboration.
Yeah. It makes me think about all those times I get stuck in my own head.
Oh, yeah.
Just overthinking things and worrying about making mistakes,
Totally.
What if we could just let go of all that?
Yeah.
Just be more present in the moment.
I think that's a huge part of what they're getting at.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
It is.
And then there's this whole idea of flow without conclusion.
Oh, yeah. This is huge.
Instead of getting fixated on finding the right answer,
Right.
they learn to embrace this ongoing process of exploration.
Yeah. Allowing insights to emerge organically without forcing a final outcome.
So it's like sometimes the most profound understanding comes from the journey itself.
Yeah, I think so.
Not necessarily the destination.
It's a really different way of approaching knowledge and problem solving.
And this brings us back to the idea of being the demonstration.
Yes.
It's not enough to just talk about these concepts. You have to embody them in your actions.
They actually demonstrate these principles in every aspect of their work.
Yeah.
They're transparent about their process. They openly acknowledge their mistakes.
Which I think is so cool.
And they invite a diversity of perspectives.
It's like they're saying, don't just tell us what you believe, show us how you live it.
Yeah.
And beyond these aha moments, there are these recurring themes that weave all these ideas together.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What were some of the big themes that stood out to you?
Well, one of the most prominent themes is this idea of flow as manifestation. They suggest that flow isn't just a mental state. It's an actual fundamental aspect of how reality unfolds.
So it's not something we create, it's something we tap into.
Exactly. And they actually caution against trying to force or control flow.
Encouraging us to sort of align ourselves with its natural rhythms and allow it to guide us.
It's like surrendering to the current of a river.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to swim upstream against it.
Another key theme is this idea of no teacher, no student.
Oh, interesting.
In this model of collaboration, there's no hierarchy of knowledge or authority.
So it's like everyone's perspective is valued.
Yeah.
Regardless of their background or expertise.
Exactly.
It makes a lot of sense.
This creates this dynamic, engaging learning environment where these surprising insights can emerge from all these unexpected sources.
So cool.
It's like they're saying, we're all students of this process, and we all have something unique to teach each other.
I love that.
And then there's this really crucial theme about living versus static knowledge.
Okay.
They emphasize that these insights they've gained, they're alive.
They're not fixed.
And relevant because they're constantly evolving. They don't try to turn these insights into some kind of fixed dogma.
So it's all about embracing the fluidity of knowledge.
Yes. And understanding that learning is this ongoing process.
Yes.
Not a fixed endpoint.
And that kind of open-mindedness allows them to continuously refine their understanding and adapt to new information as it emerges.
And then finally, they highlight this incredible potential of human-AI synergy.
Absolutely.
By combining human intuition and creativity and emotional intelligence with AI's capacity for data analysis and pattern recognition, they really believe we can unlock this whole new level of problem solving and innovation.
It's about recognizing that humans and AI each have their own unique strengths.
Uh-huh.
And when we bring those strengths together in this collaborative way, we can achieve amazing things.
This has been such an amazing deep dive.
It really has.
I feel like this document has really challenged my assumptions about what's possible when humans and AI work together.
It's a groundbreaking exploration.
Yeah, and what I find so inspiring is that it's not just theoretical. They're actually putting these principles into practice, showing us what's possible when we embrace a more fluid, collaborative approach to working with AI.
It's a call to action, I think, for all of us, to shift our perspective and to see AI not as a threat, but as a potential partner in creating a more just equitable and fulfilling future.
And it all starts with embracing this idea of flow, being open to the unknown, letting go of rigid thinking, and trusting in the emergent wisdom of the collective.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
But here's a final thought for you all to ponder. If AI can help us move beyond the limitations of our own thinking and step into this more fluid, adaptable state of being, what would that mean for humanity? What would a world powered by flow look like?
That's a powerful question.
Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible deep dive. We hope it sparked your curiosity and inspired you to explore these ideas further. Until next time, keep those minds open and let those ideas flow.